r/AskReddit. Lawyers of Reddit, what's your best most badass I rest my case moment? My brother-in-law is a DA. He was attacked during sentencing by a child molester. The pedo got his hand chains around his neck and was choking him. My brother-in-law fought until the deputy pulled him off, then continued with his recommendations like it didn't happen. We all heard about it on the news later. When we asked him, he said, "It's no big deal. I'll take the bruising if it keeps him away from kids longer." My brother-in-law had bruising to his neck and throat and his voice was messed up for about a week. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to submit the last 2 minutes as evidence. I'm going to allow this. My sister got T-boned by a car, causing a concussion when I was younger. Long story short, we were in court with a judge who asked the driver if he had ever sped before. "No, Your Honor, I never speed," was his reply. The judge asked him a couple more times if he was sure if he never sped, ever. The driver was adamant that he never sped and never had before. A few minutes later, my sister's lawyer gave the judge some paperwork. She read it and said to the driver, "It seems that you have some past driving violations. Can you tell me what they are for?" Speeding. The driver had to pay medical bills for my sister. Not a case-winning moment, but a motion-winning one for sure. Think of cases like a big conflict, with motion hearings as little conflicts. Opposing attorney was insisting that Rule A meant they could do X. I tried multiple times to point out Rule A literally did not say that. During the hearing, the judge reached behind them, grabbed their rules of civil procedure, basically a dictionary of rules, placed it in front of the other attorney, and said, "Show me where Rule A says X." Other attorney did not take the hint, read rules out loud for a brutal 5 minutes, and gave the book back. I said, "Judge, I have nothing to add." It was pretty fun. Oh, that had to be excruciating for everyone, especially the court reporter. Opens PDF of rules, copy/paste, adds a few ums and yanos and someone sighs loudly in the background. I was on the losing end of this one. I was representing a pro bono defendant who was attempting to regain custody of her children. The family division attorney was laying out his case to the judge for why my client wasn't ready, and his final point was that my client had refused emotional counseling to avoid violent fits of rage that she had inflicted on her children. On cue, my client jumps up screaming, "Duck, you judge lady. You a stupid cunt. Duck all for taking my ducking kids, you ducking cunts." I just caught the opposing attorney's smirk of satisfaction as I got up to usher my client out of the courtroom. Complaining witness accused my client of harassment stalking. Said she told him numerous times that she wanted nothing to do with him. My client claimed they were dating, but whenever she got mad at him, she'd call the police and say he was harassing her. On the stand, she testified that she'd never dated him, never invited him into her home, wanted nothing to do with him. She presented a photo on her phone of him sitting on her porch to prove that he had come to her property. I asked the judge permission to look at the photos before and after the porch photo for context. Girl had dozens of photos of the guy who was clearly her boyfriend. I showed her one such picture. "This is Mr. So-and-so, right?" "Yes." "In this photo, he's on a bed?" "Yes." "The bed is yours?" "Yes." "The bed is in your bedroom?" "Yes." "You took this photo of him?" "Yes." "He's smiling in the photo?" "Yes." "And in this photo, he's wearing your brassiere?" "Yes." No further questions, Your Honor. That's really sad. I'm glad she got in trouble for this. Really takes advantage of a situation no one should have to deal with. I was prosecuting some kid. He had an antisocial behavior order, which meant that he was not supposed to go to a certain street. He had pleaded not guilty on the basis that he had not been there. I opened my cross-examination by holding up a map and pointing at the street. I said to him, "You went here, didn't you?" He said yes. In England, we don't say I rest my case. Instead, I looked up at the bench, said no further questions, and sat down. It might not seem badass, but I got the defendant to admit the offense with one question. That never happens. Defendant in a bench trial for a speeding ticket said he couldn't possibly go as fast as the officer clocked him. He knew this because he videotaped himself accelerating from a full stop to the location of where the officer sat. His experiment showed his vehicle could only get to 55 miles per hour and not the 67 miles per hour he was clocked at. The ADA then moved to have another speeding ticket issued because the actual posted speed limit was 50 miles per hour. 5 miles per hour over is probably just a fine and a few points. 17 over is possibly reckless driving depending on the officer's discretion. I'd take. Terrible people had stolen all of this little old lady's money. They said it was a gift, but their only evidence was a document in the BD person's handwriting that was allegedly dictated. It said September 2012. No day, just the month. Clearly the rogue had forged that when she found out about the lawsuit and, not remembering when she had stolen it, she hoped if she could guess within the month no one could challenge her. So I'm questioning her about it. Exhibit B is the little old lady's bank record. Now that withdrawal at the bottom, is that the alleged gift? Yes. Can you read the date of that transaction for me? August 25th, 2012. Thank you. My wife and not me, and it was during sentencing. Mr. Defendant, local gang boss, you stated you are not, and have never been in a gang. That's correct. Do you have any tattoos? Yeah, I have a tiger on my calf, and one on my chest that says GD for life. What does GD stand for? Gangster Disciples. But, I mean, no further questions, Your Honor. My client and his wife were woken up one night because people were trying to break into his house. He fired 2 warning shots as his wife called 911. The neighbor also called 911. When the police got the neighbor's call that there were shots fired, the police sergeant radioed the other officers and said he's going to jail tonight, referring to my client. So obviously, even with signs of someone trying to break in and his wife calling 911 for help, the officers arrest my client for endangering his wife by shooting inside the house, nowhere near her. It gets to a jury trial and I start to go off on the police sergeant about why she would say that before an investigation and before she even had any idea what happened. The sergeant had no idea how to respond and literally just sat there staring at me for a solid 2 minutes before saying anything. Even the bailiffs were audibly laughing. I'm not a lawyer, but the most memorable court scene I witnessed was 1968, Sacramento, California. I was waiting to be tried in traffic court, my usual speeding, before Earl Warren Jr., the son of the great Earl Warren of Supreme Court fame. The guy before me was being tried for reckless driving. When it got down to sentencing, Earl Warren Jr. ordered some nominal fine and that the defendant attend traffic school. The defendant got all upset and began ranting how he didn't need to go to traffic school. As the defendant slowed down, Earl Warren Jr. calmly stated, "Well sir, I cannot make you attend traffic school. I can only issue the order for you to attend. If I find after 2 weeks you have not attended, I will issue an warrant for your arrest and place you in county jail for 30 days, at the end of which I will renew the order for you to attend traffic school. So we can keep you going in and out of jail until you decide to attend traffic school." The guy just grumbled and walked out of court. Don't know if he did go. I certainly did when I got a similar sentence. Calm as a cucumber, this judge. Thanks for sharing, man. This made me chuckle. So I'm fighting a DWI case, and the cop is a lying liar who is telling big lies about what signs he saw on the field sobriety test that my client was allegedly intoxicated. The state had not moved expeditiously enough to have a copy of all of the evidence in the case. So we got him up on the stand talking all about how my clients looked on the horizontal gaze nystagmus eye test, then buried him with his own body camera footage which he thought had been destroyed. It wasn't. The judge, the newly elected Democrat in Texas, made findings on the record that the police officer had intentionally lied and misrepresented the truth. The state still tried to fight the case, but it came out the right way. Not a lawyer, but this is my favorite story in traffic court. I got a ticket for going 75 miles per hour on I-88 near Chicago. The officer wrote on the ticket I was going 88 miles per hour on I-75. Detroit south to Miami, not near Chicago. I show up wearing a suit because I have one suit and I may as well wear it. Judge calls on me asking me if I'm a lawyer. I say I'm not, but I get to go first because I'm the only one in a suit. Judge looks at the ticket, says you were going 88 on I-75. Officer X, what does this ticket say? Isn't I-75 out of our jurisdiction? At this point I open my mouth and shut it because I have the right to remain silent. May as well show the ability to be silent as well. Officer says, Your Honor, at my age I have no idea what I wrote. Judge gives him a look and throws my license back at me in the plastic bag. Says you are free to go. Always wear a suit to traffic court. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more videos.